Welcome back. Alright, so before we get started with episode 11, I never remember to say this, so I'm going to say it right now. Hit the subscribe button and like the video, yay! And check out princessofpleiades.com to learn more about multidimensional healing and if you want to book a healing session with me. Also, this story is pretty crazy, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say, please don't leave me comments trying to disprove my truth, because it's my truth and this is what happened to me. So I'm sure there might be ways that you can disprove or try and disprove some of my stories. This might be one of those, but I would appreciate none of those comments, please. Okay, so episode 11. I'm actually also being drawn to not really talk about my previous alien experiences anymore, because I've been feeling that I'm getting very, very overwhelmed with doing these videos, and that's why it takes me like a month in between each one, because I'm just like dragging ass, like not wanting to do it, because it takes so much emotional energy for me to go back to 2.5 years ago and try and remember every detail of every story to try and tell you guys. And then on top of that, I also have new experiences that are happening to me all the time. So I'm being more drawn to share my new experiences and leave the past ones behind me. So if I'm more in the present moment, I'll be more motivated and excited to share these new stories. So this might be one of the last ones that I tell that happened to me previously, and I want you guys to stay on this adventure with me and share all my new experiences. So going back to where we were at, I've been learning a lot about a lot of different things. Now that I know who Sophie is, my spirit guide, and I've been doing a lot of automatic writing with her, and she's teaching me so much about myself and just about like a lot of things in general, and it's an amazing way for me to get confirmation on everything that I have questions to. And on top of that, I also have my friend, mentor person who's teaching me a lot too. And one of the things that I had been really interested in, that I've been learning a lot about then, was twin flames, and that was really exciting to me. It's probably gonna end up being a whole nother video that I'll have to make at some point if you're not familiar with what twin flames are. Basically, like, you can have multiple soulmates in this life, but your twin flame is the other half of your soul, and you guys in union make up a sacred partnership and blah blah blah. There's like a lot of background to it. It's also important to point out that not everybody is part of the Twin Flame Project, and that's what most people fail to realize. So I'm just going to throw that out there right now. If you haven't found your twin flame, or you don't think that you are one, you're probably not. So this one's especially emotionally draining for me. Okay, so going back to what happened. this night I was driving to a dance gig in Tampa, and I was on the highway. I was seeing the same starship that I always see, and it was driving with me to Tampa. Nothing out of the ordinary at this point. If anybody knows I-4 in Florida, it's the biggest shit show of a highway ever. So there was some traffic that had just shown up all of a sudden, and everything kind of came to a stop. And so the next thing I remember from this point is waking up in the passenger seat to a guy that is opening my door telling me that I've been in a car accident. Pretty terrifying. So apparently what had happened was I came to a stop. The guy behind me did not stop, and he hit me at 50 miles an hour and crushed my tiny compact car in between two SUVs. Yeah. I definitely should have died. Nobody knows how I even survived this accident, because if you look at my car, it's just crushed like a fucking tin can. You can't even tell what's what. It's insane. So I had no memory of the accident happening. All I remember is this guy telling me that I went in a car accident, and he called an ambulance. I went to the hospital, and I was totally fine. Completely fine. Not a fucking scratch on me. It was like a fucking miracle. Like, it was insane. And then the next week, I ended up going back to work. And I was at an event that I was dancing at, and I just kept having the feeling that I had been on vacation recently, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I was like, I don't know why I feel like I went on vacation last week. And then I would like look at my phone. I'm like, in my phone calendar, I'm like, what the fuck happened last week? I'm like, I didn't go on vacation. I was in a car accident. What the fuck? That's so weird. And so then within the next couple of days after the accident, it came out of nowhere that my entire body got really sore, and these bruises started showing up in the weirdest places. Like, I had bruises starting to show up behind my elbows, on the right side of my face, which, like, what the fuck do you hit right here? Like, there's nothing there. What would I have hit right here? If I'm driving, the window would be on this side. There's nothing over here. On the right side of my shoulder, like my chest, But if I was driving, the seatbelt would be over here. And the weirdest one to me was I had these bruises that were like at the tops of my thighs, like up here. And then I was like, what the fuck would that have been? Because like when I went back to go look at my car after the accident and get anything out of it that I had left in there, the steering wheel wasn't moved, so that wouldn't have hit me there. What would that have possibly been? The seatbelt would have been right here. I should have had a bruise on my lower stomach, but I didn't. So there was bruises showing up in the weirdest places, and it didn't make sense to me. And it also didn't make sense to me that I was completely fine when it happened, and then it started to show up days later. Sorry, this is hard for me because I can't remember, I can't remember, but I don't know what order to put it in because I'm like jumping back and forth. So, okay, going back to I'm working this event, and I had been communicating with Sophie, asking her questions. The questions that I have been asking her recently were about my twin flame, that I wanted to know who he was. And I've been putting it out in the universe that I wanted to know who he was. And so I wanted to know a name. And the name that I had gotten when I was doing the automatic writing was Benashar, but Ben for short. I go to this fucking event, and there's this guy that I have now like passed by like 3 times, and I swear to God, like I am not attracted to like anybody ever. So I saw this guy that I was actually attracted to, or like felt a connection to, and by the 3rd time that I've seen him, and this is a huge event with probably 200 or 300, probably 300 or so people there. The fact that I had seen this same guy 3 times, I was like, okay, like I need to talk to him. And I'm seeing this motherfucker like walk towards me again. I was like, oh shit, like I have to say something this time. So I was like, I didn't know what to say, so I was like, dude, you remind me of the guy from American Psycho. Because he did, he looked like him. And and he goes, shut the fuck up, American Psycho is my favorite movie ever. And that's when I lost it, and I was like, what? What the fuck? That's crazy. I was like, are you fucking with me? Are you serious? He's like, no, I'm dead ass serious, it is. I'm like, oh my God, that's insane. What's your name? He said, Ben. Okay, as you might remember from the previous story with Sophie, when I had gotten the name Sophie, it was confirmed to me by meeting a person whose name was Sophie. Now, the same thing is happening to me again because the name that I had gotten was Ben, and it's being confirmed with this person whose name is Ben. And I was like, okay, that's really interesting. So then we started talking, and come to find out, he's like super into aliens and has had experiences too. at this point, because all of my alien experience things are still really new to me, I'm so excited when I find anybody who has had experiences too. I don't give a fuck about my job. I don't give a fuck about anything else that's going on around me. I'm sitting with this motherfucker for the rest of the night and we're gonna have a conversation. So I'm sitting here with him and we're just talking, and the more that we keep talking, I'm like, oh my god, like, he is literally perfect. This is insane. Like, this dude is like literally like my fucking soulmate. Like, it's so crazy. Like, everything I've ever wanted in a guy, like, this was it. And then when it gets closer to the end of the night and we're talking about like exchanging information or whatever, he brought up that he was married. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't see that coming, but there has to be a reason for that. I was like, why would the universe bring me this absolutely perfect guy for me in every single way and then have him not be available? There has to be a lesson in this. And so I went back to Sophie and I had asked to get confirmation on what the lesson was, and it was basically just there to confirm that my twin flame's name is Ben. So I was like, okay. Then I started to have bits and pieces of memories of what had happened the week before, and like I said, I had been feeling like I went on vacation. And you know, like the feeling when you get back from vacation, you're like, oh man, like back to normal life, this sucks. That's exactly how I was feeling. And I was like, why the fuck do I feel like that? Oh, I just got in a car accident. You know, like, I don't know, it's really weird. So then I started to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and I did a very intense automatic writing session with Sophie to ask all of these questions about, okay, what actually happened with the car accident? And basically what was confirmed to me was I was not in the car when that happened. I was abducted at time of impact by Ben, the 9'8" alien, and I was taken for 3 days, and that's why I feel like I just came back from vacation. So let me rewind, because like I said, it's really hard for me to think about what's the correct order to put this in so it makes sense to you guys that are watching this. So the tall white aliens that we have been seeing in the woods, there was one that was taller than the rest of them. And during this time, after the car accident, I had started to feel a certain way towards that one taller one. I started to feel like I knew him really well, but I couldn't place the connection. And then I just started getting really curious about what our connection was. Why do I feel like I know him better than the other ones? What is our connection? And that feeling just got more and more intense, to the point that I felt so much love for this one alien out of the group that now that all of this happened, I was able to put the pieces together and find out that that was my twin flame. Is my twin flame. Ben, the 9'8", tall, white, gray alien. Yeah, that fucking blew my mind. But this is why all of this had to happen in the order that it happened, so I was able to figure out who that was. So yes. Alright, well, I think that's it for this episode. I really genuinely hope that I worded that correctly so that you guys can understand what I'm saying, because that was probably the hardest story for me to tell because of all of the pieces in it that were all happening at the same time. So yay! Alright, you guys, stay tuned for more alien experiences. I have so many more that have happened to me that it's really overwhelming, and so many more that continue to happen to me constantly. So I want to be sharing more of these videos about current experiences that are going on. I'm going to try and share more of them on my Instagram, so if you're not already following at Princess of Pleiades, go follow me. Please like and subscribe. Check out my, I also have Patreon now, which I don't know how the fuck that works. I'm still figuring it out, but yeah, yay.